there's 25 Williams fenders, 24 Mollies. Wow, what great representation.
Now all the others are like this.
Oh, neat.
So it's readable. And so on top of that, we'll have the color code.
Wow.
We're going to pen the color code.
Can you see it, love? Oh.
Now, the ancestors, on the other hand, here are the ancestors.
Wow.
This is the ancestors of
William Fender.
Of William Fender. So that includes both Catherine and Wilhelm.
But it does take Catherine Fow down a little bit, doesn't it?
That's up. This is backwards. This is backwards. This goes back to Ulrich Fender in 1600.
Oh, neat.
Okay. So that's all.
So
Ostrander, are the Ostranders coming?
Yes.
Okay.
Burke?
Swishers. Swishers are coming.
No, I don't remember Swishers coming.
Burks.
I thought that Peggy
Yeah,
was
the Burks
coming,
are
but
coming.
she wasn't. She can't.
No, the Burks are coming.
Burks.
I made their name tags.
How about Wrights?
Oh.
Any Wrights?
Right. No.
Okay.
Because the thing that's interesting,
So
because
there'll be
here
some
at
kids.
this level, these cousins have the same bloodlines.
Yeah, that's what Mother always says, that
The Ostranders.
that all these ones, let's see.
All at this level, all of these at this level have the same bloodline. Anyone that came
That's
from
right.
Fred and Lois, and you know,
Have the same
your
bloodline.
grandparents
Yeah,
have the same bloodline. That's wild.
that's right.
That's wild.
The Mother always talked about her double cousin.
Double cousin. Oh,
And there's Herman, which is
oh I spelled Herman
lot.
wrong. There's
But
two N's in
these are
it.
the Runks.
Yeah.
These are the Runks. That's all that's
I
left,
never
guess.
knew Richard had 5 daughters. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Grandma's room, and everyone's decided to take over. This is Tuesday.
Let's check 570. So, yep.
I think you can tear it. Can't you tear it if it's
Hello. Be attending and whether they're going to the picnic or whether they're going. Yes, let's find out where you
Am
are.
I going everywhere?
You're going everywhere.
Oh, because you're kind of putting it together so after that, right?
You're going everywhere.
I mean, I get to go everywhere.
You get to go everywhere.
I've been everywhere,
Bus
man.
tour.
I've been everywhere.
Everything. Oh yeah, don't worry. I've got your dad signed up for that.
I want to go on everything.
You're gonna go to everything.
Yeah.
Padre.
Here we go. Hey!
So you see there's a different type of approach being given to this type of material that we do over here. This comes on my deep archives, which is a burial ground basically almost, except I have to find stuff. So I'm going to push this in, and I'm going to translate a little bit, unless Mary wants to translate in Deutsch. Okay, I'll give a little bit of background. Since you're about 6 minutes, but just to help explain where we're going today. And what we're going to do today, this is an original tour. We only conducted once, because this I've never done before, I'm never going to do it again. This is an old man. I was brought up by also one of your relatives. By the name of Jim Fender, when he was a postal service boy down here in New Ulm. And he went up the river valley, kind of interested in history, traced out the old historic sites going to Minnesota River Valley on this side. And he's showing on here different sites. So we're going to try to see a few of these sites. The Turners and Wilhelm Fender came here in 1856, and they had the funds, they had the money, they had the moxie crowd. They put this thing together. Plus, they were looking for a community for idealism, where they could get away from the eastern seaboard, establish a community with the white streets, white, beautiful, wonderful parks. And Ulm has all day the white streets, the good parks, and a good life for what they said for German immigrants. They were very particular, and the German way of the Jews, they could drink beer on Sundays. That was one of the things they insisted upon. Listen, I'm not an advocate of drinking beer on Sunday. Is the bus here or not?
No.
No? Okay, keep asking questions then.
How many children did Wilhelm have?
Marion?
What was the question?
How many children did Wilhelm have?
Well, he had 15 in all, but 10 survived because the others were taken by typhoid and diphtheria, which were extant at that time. And he had 10 survived, and of those 10, the only 8 of them were producers that we all came from. So we came from the 8 that produced. Aunt Josephine, was a maiden lady in those days, we called her. Actually an old maid, and never married. And Aunt Minnie, the wonderful, wonderful lady, went to Germany and met this wonderful man in Germany, and who had a farm and who had 4 children, and she adopted those children. And then the war came, World War I, and she came over and she brought the youngest boy, over here, and she put him through medical school, teaching kindergarten, and with help from relatives. She put him through medical school. He's now a doctor. We didn't invite him because he's not of the blood. As my son says, not of the blood. So that's the story.
Okay.
Did you know, Colonel Fender, did you know your grandfather?
No, he died in 1904 or 1905, and I wasn't born until 1914. Yeah.
Wait. Opera Hall, that bird makes it good. Don't go in there, replace the one you have today. I can go into further detail later to get back, if you want more information there. We have to let the tour come up.
Yeah.
Lights right there.
We're going to leave now Turner Hall. We're going to go out to the west of Noam here, northwest from the river valley to the KC Road. In case anybody wants to know what the KC Road means, it means Knights of Columbus. And that was a road put in many years ago when the KCs used to have a park up above Noam, and they used to go out, they had large buildings down there, they even had a lodge with a fireplace. This is all gone, but we're going to go by that and show you where the site was, right real close to it, right on it. We're also going to see the first marker site, the church right had their first meeting, and also homestead site of Wilhelm Fender. He got his home site originally by a claim jumper who was in 1854, came across the river and jumped another man's site when the guy was gone. It was perfectly legal back then. If you left your house and you weren't around to defend yourself, someone could take your property away. That was perfectly legal back then.
Hello. Except for, no, we do have one.
This railroad line was put in about Fender farm site. Today this is owned by the Runk, Harold Runk, Marguerite Runk, and it's a farm site that was Wilhelm, where this concrete blockhouse is. It used to be a log cabin, and at one point in time the log cabin was torn down, a wooden cabin was replacing it, and then that burned, and then following that they replaced it with a blockhouse here. And if you look up to your left, there's a machine shed. There's a little machine shed, a truck end sitting out there. In front of the machine shed around 1863, there was a hired man working for the farm for Wilhelm Fender, who was what they called at Fort Ridgely. And 2 Indians came out of the woods from up where that cabin is, that came down and shot their dead dad, who was plowing, dead right in front of their faces. The kid who talked normally for the rest of his life could never talk without stuttering, from the impact of seeing his dad shot blank point in front of him. This is some of the Indian lore goes back, and my grandpa used to take me out and show me the exactly spot where this guy died. It was a garden at one time. So this gives you a bit of the history occurred, but this site here was the log cabin on here, It was used to be a large oak tree growing out in front, and there was in the front of that oak tree of Wilhelm Fender's farm. They have one of the first religious services conducted here in 1856 in front of the oak tree. They didn't have a place to put religion in that point in time, so it was underneath an oak tree. A couple of years later, they used it as a ceremonial site for what they called a salute to the Kaiser. Now these guys didn't like the Kaiser too well because they were revolutionaries. Didn't want to. They left Germany for a reason. So they made a statutory outline of the Kaiser. They took their rifles, gave a salute, good Heil, and then shot the Kaiser as a target. Plus, you're right at the marker here alongside the left, on your right side of the road here, and on this side here is a meeting of the first Turnverein meeting site. It says in German, and it says in the north 700 and some feet. The first meeting of Turnverein was conducted down in the swamp, or actually it's the swamp and woodland now.
Site thing. Maybe what it says, I don't know. It's in German. So yeah. He's a sexy beast. What? That's right. Just walk away. Okay, this is everyone that's on the bus. They're getting off. Just getting off. Oh, and now that was just a being an idiot. Cabin. Ever built, I guess it's a new style or something. There you go. Right here are the gas tanks for the new place. You know, it's whole family. The bus. Got it all this really cool farm equipment. You know. It's kind of cool. Big farm. Don't see this in California every day.
And I'll start with this. This is a map of this area. This red block here is this property. And basically where the yellow line ends is where you are. This is the road back towards town. And this is many little properties. The biggest pieces, there are 2 40-acre tracts. So this can get very complicated when you look in the abstracts.
Good fishing out in this area here. Although they say you can't eat the fish due to pollution. You're supposed to swim in the water.
It used to be a part of the lake. Now it's just a lake for fishing.
Although I still eat the fish out of the river occasionally, I still sometimes go down skinny dipping.
Go skinny dipping.
Believe me, I'm real skinny.
Tour guy. Pretty cool guy.
When I get tired, I'm very tired, I get more verbose. Sorry.
Cows. Let's go milk a cow.
We'll be at the cemetery. We're going to look at Wilhelm Fender and relatives' grave sites.
Wilhelm Fender. July 6th.
Well, I think these are Granny's paternal grandparents. Those are Granny's maternal.
Right there. The man who started it all.
Who are these? Who's mom and pops?
I wish
Who's mother and father? Who are mother and father?
They just say mother and father.
Who is it?
That's Wilhelm and Catherine.
These are Wilhelm and Catherine?
What's sad
Mother and father.
is all the little babies.
Father
Where are they?
and mother.
Grandma, just lie down like this.
Okay, I'll lie down.
There, yeah.
Looking good. Looking great.
She's not just laying down, she's doing sit-ups. Oh, do your cheeky pose.
Oh, I gotta get in
Crunches, do crunches.
I never
There's
saw them
George,
before, I
George.
just heard it over the phone, so.
Here's the highlight of the day. These immature rascals. We're all gonna go push around on that, so it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna spit them.
Good. Okay, now do you have brothers?
Line up, and that's the beginning of the reunion.
What a great machine.
Everybody's just here talking before food.
You
must be Jody's daughter.
I am George's daughter.
Oh, okay, George's daughter.
There's George. Hey Remy, you gonna go up again? You gonna go up again?
You have to execute. I touched it, but I'm gonna hold on to it. I know it's hard.
That one.
Looks great, great.
This is exciting. Thank you all for being here. When Marion asked me, Teddy Fritchie, to do the MC, I said, oh God, Marion, I'm not prepared. I can't do this. And my wife said, hey, if you screw up big time, it'll stay in the family. Let's hope. You've all seen the diagram, and if you haven't seen it, come back here and look at what Trish Downs put together. If you haven't seen Where You Belong, give her a hand. Her husband, my cousin George, and we called him Butch. He's okay with that.
Stays in the family.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the people who really put this together. And the one that it really comes down to is Royland Downs. Royland Downs remote control. And Rudy Stahl. And Rich Ron. Those three are the reason we're all here. Right there. Royland did it remotely from California, and if you aren't on Royland's email list, let me know, because I'll get you on. You've got to be on her email list.
You'll never get off.
And you'll never get off, that's right. You'll get copies of stuff that you can't believe. And Rudy is Toodles, and those who've been on her email list. And Rich, as you know, provided the bus tour and the guide for those of you who were on and actually saw the old Fender homestead and some of the places that I missed. And Rich is willing, he actually agreed to provide a tour later after the meeting here of his office. For those of you that haven't seen it. Thanks, Rich. And now,
There's filming costs involved. That's a $10 donation. Everybody wants to take a picture of me in the office.
you have to see Rich's office. You just have to. The other credit that I'd like to give at this point is there are 3 recently deceased grandchildren of Colonel William Fender. And I know that they're here with us in spirit. My dad certainly is. You wouldn't want to miss this. And the other is Marguerite Runk, which is mom, and John Fender, Jay Fender's dad. All in the past. Let's have a photo. Let's hold a drink up.
You're here.
All right. They love that.
Okay. I'm Dr. Bill Fritchie. My dad was Dr. Carl. My grandfather was Dr. L.A., who married one of the Colonel's daughters, Amalia. So that's how the Fritchies got involved with the Fenders. And my experience with genealogy is kind of limited. I'm thinking in terms of the family Bible, front page, that's got some calligraphy in it that talks about marriages and births and deaths. And we've got some people here tonight that have moved that to a whole new level. And certainly George, Trish, and Roy Lynn have benefited all of us by getting our names on lists that will be in prosperity forever. Now, there's another thing you gotta know. Yeah. Turner Hall is really sacred ground to the Fenders. And when you think about it, they've been meeting here for 149 years. That's just phenomenal. And interestingly, there are more Fenders here at this gathering than there have ever been together at any time. The Fenders are a great people, and let's hear it for the Fenders.
George is up now, and he's going to talk about family gynecology. Oh, genealogy. Boy, I was going to do that.
The genealogist in Heilbronn, he said, well, here's some stuff on Wilhelm Fender, but do you do anything about Carl? I mean, all they wanted to know is about Carl Fender, who, of course, went to London and recruited Engels and Marx into what he called the League of the Just, which was an organization, a social organization that defended the rights of immigrant German workers in England. And then Carl and Frederick went on to form their own organization, sort of grew out of the League of the Just. And of course they were lifelong friends of Carl. But that was, one of the interesting sidelights that we ran across. And my mother and I are both members of the Marx Library in England. So we're card-carrying Marx libraries. And I know 4 years ago I tore my card up for obvious reasons. Anyway, his official name is Jakob Wilhelm. We all know him as Wilhelm, because that's what he was when he was in America. But all of the genealogical records you see here and in the book, this is the book here. It's Jakob, because he was Jakob Wilhelm. So if you're ever looking for it, that's what you have to look for. You'll never find Wilhelm, you find Jakob. They're of the Catherine and Jacob Wilhelm had 15 children, as everybody knows. 4 died when they were young. 11 lived to adulthood. One of them died when she was 21. Had one child, and I'm not sure who survived, but and there was one spinster and one, there was many who had no children. And so there were 8 who were married and had descendants. Of those, there were 7 of those, we call them clans just for convenience, are represented here today. Now, in true Turner tradition, I want to kind of go over these clans, and I'm going to ask the representative of each clan to stand up, so just a little exercise to give you a little stretch. So first, there were 2 representatives of who were nieces of Catherine Fowl, and I see them over there. Would you please stand up? Nieces of Catherine. It is one. It's the children of William Fender. There are 27 of them attending this meeting, so I'd like to have them. Those that are here, please stand up. Catherine was the next oldest, and there were 5 children, 5 here. Kate? It's called Kate, yeah. Kate and Catherine. They couldn't be here. Okay, they were here for other events. Now Louise had descendants, but we don't think there are any. We haven't identified any at this generation. The next one is Fred Fender, which is the blue, and there should be 6 here, or there have been 6 here for the various activities. Any here tonight? Yes. All 6. All right. Molly is one of the largest clans. There are 26 people who are attending or have attended these activities. Could we have all the Molly descendants stand up, please? Okay, next one is Emma or Emmy. 7 are here. They're here tonight. Herman's clan, 7 should be here or have been here. And there's no Brooke materialism involved here or favoritism, but the last one, not the least, in fact, it's the largest here at this organization that I'm using, is the clan of Albert, 28 representatives. Statistically, I went through and from what we have found here, I've added about 30 just in the last day that we didn't have on the charts. There are approximately 342 descendants of Catherine and Wilhelm that have existed.
Mom was born yesterday.
343. Now, one other way to look at a family is the generations, and I just want to do that really quickly. On your badge, it says what your generation is, and I'm going to start with the fourth generation, which is the most recent. And as of yesterday, I had 5, but I have reason to believe that there's as many as 15 in the fourth generation. This was information that people brought in. Could we have everybody who's in the fourth great grandchild stand up? Now there's the third great grandchildren. There's 82. How many third great grandchildren do we have here? 125 second great grandchildren. There's 64 great grandchildren. Great grandchildren? And there have been 41 grandchildren. And the only one I know of is Marion Downs. I know we have one married into the clan from that. Could we have anyone else? Is there anyone else married into the clan? Chloe, I believe there's the other one. Very good Got one other afterthought, just along the Fender line that I'd like to bring up. Our side, Marion Fender's progeny side of the family, has identified a very distant cousin from Germany that for years has shown up at weddings and big events in the family, and usually uninvited, but she seems to show up, and always has something to say. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to introduce our very, 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 very distant cousin, Dr. Ludwig Fender, Fender with an F, and a student.
Fender family Schnitzelbank. All right? Are we ready? Yeah. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Okay. Here we go. Ist das nicht ein Schnitzelbank? Ja, das ist ein Schnitzelbank. Ist das nicht kurz und lang? Ja, das ist kurz und lang. Ist das nicht ein Hochzeitring? Ja, das ist ein Hochzeitring. Ist das nicht ungefährliche Ding? Ja, das ist ein gefährliche Ding. Gefährliche Ding, Hochzeitring, kurz und lang, Schnitzelbank. Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, Schnitzelbank. Ist das nicht New Orleans Grand Man?
Ja, das ist New Orleans Grand Man.
Is he not the head of the Fender clan?
Ja, das ist der Head of the Fender Clan.
Is das nicht Catherine Fowl?
Ja, das ist Catherine Fowl.
Was she not a pioneer Frau?
Ja, das ist
Pioneer Frau, Catherine Fowl, head of clan, New Orleans Grand Man. Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, Schnitzelbank. Ist das nicht ein Fender Farm?
Ja, das ist ein Fender Farm.
Ist das nicht the New Orleans Alarm?
Ja, das ist der New Orleans Alarm.
Ist das nicht the group he led?
Ja, das ist der Group he led.
Ist das nicht Fort Ridgely's Head?
Ja, das ist Fort Ridgely's Head.
Fort Ridgely's Head, group he led, New Orleans Alarm, Fender Farm. Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne Schnitzelbank. Ist das nicht Williams Tree?
Ja, das ist Williams Tree.
Ist das nicht 93?
Ja, das ist
93. Ist das nicht Katie Albrecht's Heaven? Ja, das ist Katie Albrecht's Heaven. Ist das nicht 27?
Ja, das ist 27.
27, Katie's Heaven, 93, Williams Tree.
Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne Schnitzelbank.
Ist das nicht Aunt Lou's Stamm?
Ja, das ist Aunt Lou's Stamm.
Ist das nicht 11 done?
Ja, das ist 11 done.
Ist das nicht Great Fed Fender?
Ja, das ist Great Fred Fender.
Ist das nicht ein Firemanner? Ja, das ist Firemanner. Firemanner, Great Fred Fender, 11 done, Aunt Lou's Stamm.
Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne Schnitzelbank.
Ist das nicht Fritsch's Wife? Ja,
das ist Fritsch's
Full of doctors. Ist das nicht Molly's Life?
Ja, das ist Molly's Life.
Ist das nicht Emma's Group?
Ja, das ist Emma's Group.
Was ist das nicht Quite a Troop?
Ja, das ist Quite a Troop. Quite a Troop, Emma's Group, Molly's Life, Fritsch's Wife. Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne Schnitzelbank.
Ist das nicht 15 of Herren?
Ja, das ist 15 of Herren.
Was he not a farming German?
Ja, das ist a farming German.
Ist das nicht Albert's Line?
Ja, das ist Albert's Line.
Isn't it 39?
Ja, das ist 39. 39, Albert's Line, farming German, 15 of Herman. Ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne, ah, die Schöne Schnitzelbank.
Ist das nicht Josephine and Minnie?
Ja, das ist Josephine and Minnie.
Isn't this? They didn't have any.
Ja, das ist, they didn't have any.
Wasn't William quite prolific?
Ja, das ist quite prolific.
Das nicht feat terrific, more than 319.
Ja, das ist feat terrific. Feat terrific, quite prolific. Didn't have any. Josephine and Minnie. Oh, the shady, oh, the shady, oh, the shady Schnitzelbank.
Is not this the final ender?
Ja, das ist the final ender.
Is das nicht? We're glad we're Fender.
Ja, das ist, we're glad we're Fender. Glad we're Fender, final ender. Terrific, quite prolific. Didn't have any, Josephine and Minnie. 39, Albertstein, Harley driven, 15 of Herman, quite a troop, Anna's troop, Molly's wife, Richie's wife, Boyer Minor, favorite winner, Remington, Thomas Stump, 27, 87, 93, William Street, Brittany Red, Ruby Red, Mama Mom, Tender Farm, Pioneer Frau, Catherine Fowl, Head of Pen, Walter Men, Victoria King, Watch Ring, Food Long, Schnitzelbank. Aye, shady, aye, shady, aye, shady, Schnitzelbank.
That was the biggest Schnitzelbank I've ever seen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you strange German person. Okay. The other thing I want to tell you is something that's been plaguing me all of my adult life. Dad was given the original cap and ball revolver that Colonel William Fender had, that he carried with him as a sidearm when he was a lieutenant at the Battle of Shiloh or Pittsburgh Landing. He carried it with him when he chased down the James gang out in Whatwan County by Madelia, and he carried it with him when he was at Fort Ridgely, and I've always been meaning to write a history about that firearm. That happens to be one of my interests, is military and antique firearms. And he had gotten the firearm and he had turned it over to the museum back in the early 50s, or middle 50s. And the museum had then subsequently not been able to find it for a long period of time, and I was just heartbroken because I wanted to trace the history of that firearm and the battles that it had been involved in, and sort of tell the story of the gun. And I went to the museum today. Bob Newman took me down to the museum today, and I'd asked and asked and asked over the years for them to try to find this firearm. Well, they came up with a cap and ball revolver, and it looked, legitimate. But I said to the museum curator, "Would you mind taking the handles off, the grips off of the pistol, because there will be a message inside?" And they said, "Well, we don't know if we can do that, and boy, it might destroy something." And I said, "Come on, please." So they took it off, and there was a message inside that firearm. And on one of the grips it says, "This belongs to Lieutenant William Fender." And there was a message written by Gaston that said, "This is Colonel William Fender's handgun that he carried with him in all these battles." So it was there was a message inside the gun, so it was the original firearm. So.
I'll start, but
You start. Come on.
I thought it was going to be about emo, which is who I know. I'm Diane Myers. I live in Southern California, as do most of my family. And my brother Dennis is here, my mother Lorraine, my aunt Beth, and Uncle Bill, and Uncle Armin is here. We are descendants of William, and Emil did leave this area and went to California and settled. So most of our family is there. But we have, in our side of the family, my mother has 15 grandkids. We have great-grandkids, actually, 9 grandkids. She has 3 children. We have, my uncle has 2 children. I mean, we have a ton of people in our family. and it's grown strong. We're still going, and I hope to come back here many years and bring more of our kids and grandkids. Maybe Ruthie can say something more.
Thank you, Diane. Oh, Ruthie.
Well, I'm the only one here. There's no more Fenders here. And why am I crying? I'm just glad you're all here. That's all.
Thanks for everything you did, Ruthie.
I'm Charlie Hauser. My grandma was Emma. She married a fellow by the name of Paul Hauser, and we're descendants of them. There's 7 of us here tonight. I think the main thing is to remember our memories of those people rather than us. And my grandmother Emma died when I was 7, but she lived upstairs with us in a duplex, and she was just a lovely lady, and we've heard from other people what a kind, wonderful, sweet, wonderful disposition lady she was, and she was. The other person was Minnie, and Minnie I knew much better because she lived with us. She died at age 97 in 1967, but she lived with us also, and she was a remarkable woman. She did not have children of her own, but they had a family trip that went over just before the start of the First World War, and she met and fell in love with a widower by the name of Lenholt in Germany, and she married Mr. Lenholt, and right at the start of the war, and so she lived through the war over there. He had 5 children, and this woman was another incredible person. Mr. Lenholt died at just after the First World War ended, was dragged away by a team of horses and died in an accident. So now here's Aunt Minnie with 5 children, not her own, in destitute Germany. They did not even have anything to eat. And somehow she raised these children and brought 3 of them to this country. She was a remarkable woman. Pardon me. And she wrote Memories Trail, which many of you are familiar with. But she had her first plane ride when she was 80. I taught her to 10-figure type when she was about 85. She helped me with my German lessons. The other thing I remembered was whenever the family didn't want us children to know what the hell was going on, they talked German.
My brother Tom Fritchie.
I'm one of the grandchildren of L.A. Fritchie and Amalia Fender. I'm the youngest of the grandchildren of that group, and so that makes me, as my brothers always told me, I'm least qualified in most areas. So I'm not exactly most qualified to do this because my memories are somewhat fleeting. But I think it's really interesting to think back on my grandparents and the time intervals in our generations. Because my grandfather was born in 1862. My grandfather, not great-grandfather, but my grandfather was born in 1862. And he was in the basement at Eidner's downtown. Should the Indians break through and massacre the civilians, they were going to blow themselves up with gunpowder. And he was alive at that time, and he was an infant. And then my grandmother, Amalia Fender, was born the year Lincoln was assassinated. You know, so you think of the time span of this lineage. It's absolutely amazing. You know, and then my dad, who passed away last year, going on to be 97 years old. So I don't know if we're going to last that long, but at least my brother. But it was quite a family, and many of the grandchildren of L.A. and Amalia Fender are here tonight, as you know, Barbara Olmanson and Louis Fritchie and Bill Fritchie, and my brother and I. My sisters are missing, but we've still got a good turnout. But it was quite a group. Tana Elsa was down in Florida for many years, and Tana Lou was in the Twin Cities for many years. And it was a magical time growing up and knowing these aunties and uncles. And Uncle Bill I never knew. He died of tuberculosis back in the 1920s. Uncle Carl I knew very well. He was our neighbor on Summit Avenue, and I grew up knowing that house quite well. And So the whole family was, you know, this was an amazing group of people, and it was an amazing time to grow up. Again, I think of the family history because those people lived through such amazing times, from the time of the Civil War and the Indian Uprising, you know, through the Great War and then the subsequent Great War and the great things that have happened. And it is an amazing lineage that we've all been privileged to be a part of. So that's about it.
The kid's catching on.
I'm the great-grandson of William, and Herman is my grandfather. Herman had 3 daughters, Leona, Elwina was the oldest, Leona, and then Marguerite, who was my mother, and Harold Ruck was my father, and there are 3 sons. I'm the youngest. Richard, of course, everybody knows if you're local, well, and Alan, who lives in Florida, and myself, and I live on the original Fender farm and farming presently. Richard has 5 daughters. They're Anna Marie, Amy. Anna Marie's here. Amy's not here, but Lisa's also here. Sarah and Jessica. I think Jessica's the youngest. I myself have 2 sons, one who just graduated, Joel, and our youngest, who is Jeff. And they're both underpaid dishwashers here at Turner Home. And the only recollection I have of Herman, I was so young, I think I was 7 years old when he died. The only thing I really remember was when I was about 2 years old, I was sitting on the porch steps and he came out carrying some tools, and he had a piece of green wood, a few pieces of chain. And I followed him over to a basswood tree, and he was putting up a swing. And I didn't really recollect much about it until in the future I realized that the swing was probably for me because my other brothers were older. But I remember a few years ago that chain was still hanging from the basswood tree. The basswood tree is there, but the rest of the swing is gone, but the chains are there. So it's just a piece of recollection. I wish I was older so I could have known his mannerisms or his lifestyle or his social abilities. So thank you.
Sarah's wedding, and I fixed it. They probably cost us $3 to fix again, and I just really haven't.
But we do have a former cheerleader of the Noel High School. You know, this is, well, I guess, what, 8, 9 years ago since you graduated, something like that. And so, if you would, please, go through it once, and then why don't we get the entire room to join you?
Sauerkraut und Wienerwurst, pretzels and beer. Neu-old, das sind wir! Sauerkraut and Wienerwurst, pretzels and beer. Neu-old, das sind wir!
Anyway, when the mayor was talking earlier about being, accountable to your ancestors, I kept looking at my ancestor over there, and he kept looking back at me all the time, making me awfully nervous about the whole thing. Because his eyes are focused on me even right now as I'm sitting here looking here. Because that he's focused on you, I'm not sure.
At this time, I'd love to introduce to you a descendant from the Fender family. She was present this morning at a dedication of the Meinhardt and Fender marker, and it just impressed all of us. She's so vibrant. She's got so much energy, and she's a few years older than some of us in this room. And yet, what an icon, what a mentor for all of us. And
cheerleader for New Ulm. And in this incarnation, I am the only surviving grandchild of Grandpa Fender, Wilhelm Fender. I'm 90 years old, and I'm so glad to be here, but at 90 you're glad to be anywhere. I love being 90. You know, I find that the peer pressure is dropping off. Actually, seriously, I'm really speaking tonight in behalf of my dear cousin, Dr. Ted Fritchie, who should be doing this tonight, not me. And I just want to pay tribute to him. He was, to me, the 20th century New Ulm grand old man. And it really, his widow, Lois Fritchie, who is my cousin on my mother's side, in case you didn't know that. She is the grand old lady of New Ulm. That we had a family reunion this weekend, or this whole week, and Grandpa Fender not only founded the town, but he founded a dynasty of some 360 descendants, 120 of whom were here this week, and I want all the remaining ones who are still here to stand up and show yourselves as Fender descendants. I want you to know that every one of them, even my great-grandchildren, one of whom is 3 years old, enjoyed every minute of our stay in New Ulm. This is a wonderful town for a reunion like this. It pleases the great-grandchildren, the grandchildren, and even the old ladies like me. I love your kids. You've done such a wonderful job of it. We just love it. I just want to say a few words about Grandpa Fender. You know, there's an irony about him. My father always told me that Grandpa Fender, one of the reasons he left Germany was because he was against military conscription now. And yet, he was a Turner, member of the Turnverein. One of the tenets of the Turners is freedom. Freedom to be what you are, to do what you want, to go what you want. And when he came to this country, he became anti-slavery. So that this man, who was against military conscription in Germany, volunteered freely to fight against slavery in the Civil War. What an irony for that age. And of course, you know, he distinguished himself in the Army. He received a ceremonial sword from General Grant, and he received a letter of commendation personally from President Lincoln. And the sorrow of our family is that we haven't been able to locate those items. Somewhere between there and here, they got lost. But I guess those things sometimes happen in families, don't they? Things get lost. Though I want to say just a few words, too, about Grandma Fender. Grandma Fender was remarkable. I think of her, she stepped off that boat, and in my Aunt Minnie's book about the family, and she should know about it, she says that she stepped off the boat and said, "Where is the town? Where are the people? Husband, where have you taken us?" And Grandpa said, "Well, perhaps I didn't tell you what it is like." But he said, "But we are pioneers, and we will build a town. Please have patience and stay." So what can you do when you're a woman who loves your man and he asks you to stay? You stay.
Yeah, that's right.
So I can't imagine how she made out in this little town. Just imagine, with 3 little children, a wilderness to conquer, just the feats of eating and sleeping must have been a tremendous problem. And what I think about is how those men must have hustled to make shelter and find provisions for all of their families. I can just see them going. These women were wonderful, and I think we must honor the women pioneers just as we honor the men pioneers, because all the pioneer women did the same thing. They had to work hard. They really it was tiring work, and they not only did everything to support their husbands, but fortunately for us, they raised their children too. Before I stop, I'd like to just pay a tribute now to the Turnverein and what it meant to me, because it had a profound effect on my life. You know that I started in kindergarten in that room where the ladies now are working, that little room there. It was perhaps the first kindergarten in this country, because remember, Germans started kindergarten, child garden, of course, and the Turners were right up to snuff on this one, and they started a kindergarten. First we spoke in German, and then, of course, when World War I came, we had to change to England, but it was still, to English, it was still a wonderful kindergarten, and I learned a lot there. Ida Ayers was my teacher, and not only did they do that, but they gave us the wonderful physical exercise. Almost every day I was over here at Turner Hall in gymnasium. And you know, that exercise, I'm so grateful for it, because it has allowed me at 90 to continue to play tennis, tournament tennis, to ski, to swim, and a few weeks ago I went skydiving. You don't have to be crazy, but it helps. So they see, I'm very grateful to the Turners, and I have a book of my father's that is inscribed Albert Fender, 1889, first place in high jump, 4 feet 10 inches, New Ulm Turnverein. And guess what the prize book was? A book of Milton's poems. And you know, that represents to me the Turnverein motto, a sound mind in a sound body. I salute you, Turners. Thank you so much. Thank the pioneers who built this country, and thank all of you for making this the most beautiful city that I have seen in my lifetime. I love you all. Thank you. I get a standing ovation for just standing.
It was a great week, wasn't it, Grandma? And to end it, you get the whole front page.
It doesn't have had much news right here.
Hey, you Granny, that was big news.
A little square house just like my old house.
Yeah, I was thinking that. And inside it was so nice. It's comfortable.
And then I wanted to show you, these are really neat. We found in the attic. These two old German pictures.
Oh, really? Oh, no. Wonderful. Oh, how sweet.
Because he was the eldest son. And it was stuck in the basement, all black.
Oh,
and then
my
Ani
God.
Lottie had it all.
That is priceless.
I know.
Just
Yes.
priceless.
It's always undercover, except now I'm showing it off.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And look, oh, how nice. How
And then
nice.
see these cupboards here, where Grandpa had his music going, and we have them as treasure closets now.
You know, isn't that wonderful? I have the old cabinets from my family. too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then this is our family room.
Oh, how nice. Oh, what a, this is a great house.
You know,
I'm lucky, you know, I smoked for a long time.
Did you?
And when I was 80, all of a sudden it caught up with me, and I had this, they called it pulmonary disease, obstructive pulmonary disease, and I'm on inhalants and everything.
Yes, too.
Did you smoke too?
Well, yeah,
He
he
still
still
smokes.
smokes. And he takes a couple whiffs a day so he can keep smoking.
Oh,
isn't he terrible?
She stopped.
That's not, yeah,
She
I
stopped.
stopped 35 years ago, but
35 years ago.
and they all say, you know, after 7 years, you're home free.
Yeah.
This isn't so. It
That's-
always catches up with you.
Oh, yeah.
You see people with with the oxygen all over the place.
Yes.
It always catches up with you. You can't escape it.
Sometimes they shut off the oxygen and have a cigarette. There's a lady here in town.
Oy. You got some scissors too.
Oh, wonderful. I needed some.
Gin, vodka,
Oh.
whisk, and scissors.
I hear you guys had quite a time last night.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
You got.
I think you
We
had-
were not. You know why? He was smashed on his butt.
Really?
Oh,
I'd like to have seen
Well, that
that.
wine was good.
He said, you know when
There's
Paper.
Denver, they won't charge.
If you want
For any
Name it something other
bank,
than your name.
Wells Fargo, at any bank, they'll charge us for a business account. Even my
Business account.
yeah, it has to be.
Why am I
business
recording
account,
years
if you call it.
ago they
I'm not
had
sure.
a fender.
Turn it
off. Turn it off. Checkbook, and then there was. By the time you come back.
Wow, these houses are so much different than California.
So goodbye, Center Street.
Goodbye, Center Street.
Bye.
It's you.
Hello? Oh! Oh, yikes. Okay, you gotta go back. My purse is at Ruthie's house.
Great.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is Lee's phone. Oh, that's awful. Okay, good. Thanks.
I can go back on
Bye-bye.
this closed road.
Can you go like this?